Guys, welcome to another video. You've got Mr. Everything English, and today I want to talk about kingship in Macbeth.
Everything education. Tuition for maths, English and science.
You guys have been messaging me. I'm getting the feeling that a lot of you guys are thinking that kingship is coming up. And is it going to come up? Who knows? But let's cover it together just so we're prepped for it. Now guys, when it comes to my predictions, I will release my predictions probably on the last day of April. 2 weeks-ish before the exams. Now, kingship. What is kingship? And how do you talk about kingship? Guys, kingship is essentially the idea of the king. Now that might sound weird. Is that it? Guys, kingship is the idea of the king. Now go back in a time machine. How did the people of the Jacobian era view the king? Guys, the king was the guy. The king was the guy. He was the man. Today, guys, the king don't really do much. We don't really have much kind of clout for the king. So don't view the king with the way we view the king of today. Guys, back in those days, they believed that the king was a man chosen by God. Cool, blimey, imagine that. They believed this guy was chosen by God. He was God's representative on earth. And as a result, the king symbolized power, the king symbolized justice, and everyone who was against religion, cough cough, the witches, everyone who was against this was against the king by default. And if you were able to destroy the king, you weren't just destroying a man, you were destroying a whole idea of religion, of power, of justice. And that is why the king or kingship was super important. Because those who wanted to become the king, in becoming the king, they became the most important, the most powerful person in the kingdom. And those who were able to destroy the king were not able to just destroy one man, but they were able to destroy an entire belief system, an entire kingdom. That is how you view kingship. It is not just about Macbeth. It is not just about Duncan, but it is about the symbol of what society believed to be amazing, to be good, or to be wrong, and to be devilish. Now, how would we talk about kingship in an exam? I'm going to give you a full essay plan that beautifully discusses kingship. Should you ever require English, maths, or science classes, do head over to everythingeducation.co.uk. I teach all of the English classes myself, and the maths and science classes are taught by fully qualified teachers. Upon joining, you have access to the student portal where you can talk to me, submit your homework, and get your feedback. So guys, should you wish to join, head over to everythingeducation.co.uk. Let's say in your exam on May the 12th, the question comes up, how is the idea of kingship presented in Macbeth? You can literally use these 4 paragraphs on the screen behind me to talk about kingship. How? Paragraph number 1, guys, is my favorite, my go-to. It is Macbeth's soliloquy. And this is before Macbeth killed King Duncan. This is before Macbeth kills King Duncan. And it is in Act 2, Scene 1. And he's sitting there and he's complaining about his heat-oppressed brain. My brain is mashed. My brain is being controlled. My brain is being manipulated. And this is a soliloquy as my technique. And when I zoom in, I could zoom into the oxymoron, oppressed brain, because your brain is supposed to be free. Your thoughts are supposed to be free, not controlled. Now, how could I link this to kingship? There's so many ways you can link it, guys. So many ways. Firstly, Macbeth. What does it show about Macbeth? Guys, it shows how the desire for power, the desire for kingship, what has it done to Macbeth? Is completely destroyed the man. Not physically, but mentally. he has become an absolute weak character. He's complaining, my brain is being controlled, my brain is being manipulative. All for what? All because of this desire to become the king. Look, but at the same time, look at how much he's willing to sacrifice. Because he doesn't stop. He goes and kills the king even though he knows he's being controlled and that he knows it's not good for him. It's a double fold. Number one, it shows how desperate he was to become the king, but at the same time, it shows how much he was willing to sacrifice to become the king. He accepts that he's being controlled, but he's okay with it. The third thing, guys, you could talk about the great chain of beings. Why is Macbeth suffering? Why is Macbeth struggling? Because in the Jacobian era, they believed that the king was chosen. So the king was chosen by God, and then the king's sons would become the kings after him. In Macbeth trying to kill Duncan, he's almost destroying that line, that chain of being, and he's wedging himself in. He's not the rightful heir to the throne, and that is why he is suffering so much. You could use also this quote to talk about Lady Macbeth and the witches. For Lady Macbeth, guys, you could talk about the idea that her ambition in making Macbeth king relied upon the impact that it had for her. By default, it made her powerful. Because when Macbeth became the king, she became the queen. And for the witches, when it comes to he oppressed brain, guys, it shows you what their target is. Everyone says, right, Macbeth is ambitious, Macbeth is ambitious, everyone says that. Okay, fine, but why did the witches choose him? Because Banquo is also ambitious. Macduff is also ambitious. Why him? Because he had the cojones. He had what it required to do the deed to become the king, and they saw that. The witches chose their man perfectly. But now here's the question. Why did they want to choose Macbeth? Not because they had a beef with Macbeth, but because they had a beef with what the kingship represents. The king is a symbol of God. The witches are a symbol of Satan. In using Macbeth to take out the king, they have taken out their biggest and strongest enemy. That is how you talk about kingship when it comes to that first quote. Second quote, Act 4, Scene 1. Something wicked this way comes. Juxtaposition. Why? Because the witches are calling Macbeth wicked. Chromorphism, they're giving Macbeth the feature of an object, something. They are dehumanizing him. Now, how could you use this quote to talk about kingship in Macbeth? Guys, look at what Macbeth has done to kingship. The king is supposed to be God's man on earth. The king is supposed to be pure. The king is supposed to be powerful. Yet Macbeth is the opposite of all of these things. In Act 4, Scene 1, with a begging bowl, he goes to the witches saying, please help me. Give me more prophecies. I need your help. Tell me my future. This is not Macbeth. This is the king. This is the king of the kingdom who represents God going to the witches with a begging bowl. How does that make sense? How is that possible? How? That's like seeing your head teacher selling drugs on the corner of the street. It just doesn't make sense. How can that happen? How could this happen? And that is why you want to make the point about what Macbeth does to the idea of the king. Macbeth gets the idea of the king, puts it at the bottom of his shoe, and he drags it through the mud. He ruins the idea of kingship. He destroys kingship. And that is emphasized in this quote. They call the king wicked, evil. It's almost as though the king is the devil. No longer is the king a symbol of justice, a symbol of God. He's the complete opposite. And that's what happens when you're not the rightful heir to the throne. Paragraph number 3. Instruments of darkness tell us truths only to betray us in deepest consequence. How could you use this quote to talk about kingship in Macbeth? I would use it in a very simple way. The witches, from the very beginning, they knew what they were doing. Nothing ever happened by accident. They chose Macbeth on purpose. They said certain things to Macbeth on purpose because they set Macbeth up to fail. Because the instruments of darkness tell us truths only to betray us in deepest consequence. And this is why I want you guys to look at this quote, not just a quote as in the witches targeted Macbeth. No, the witches in targeting Macbeth targeted the king. They did not have a beef with Macbeth. They had a beef with the king. And it shows you guys that from the very beginning, the witches were focused. They set out to destroy kingship. And therefore, guys, kingship in Macbeth is presented as the most powerful thing. Because if you were able to destroy that, society would crumble. And it does. The moment Duncan dies, it's all destroyed. Malcolm leaves, Donald Bain leaves, Macduff goes to England. The society crumbles. Order is gone because it was held together by the king. So in targeting Macbeth, the witches show us how they focus and they target kingship. Like a sniper, boom, they take out kingship. And it just so happened at that time, the king was Duncan. You could replace King Duncan with King, I don't know, chicken and chips, and they would have taken him out. Paragraph number 4. How would you use he unseamed him from the nave to the chops, boom, to become and link it to kingship? This is how Macbeth is described to us right at the beginning. And this is what gives Macbeth a promotion. The king, after hearing about this, makes Macbeth Thane of Cawdor. This is the man that the witches target to take out the king and to become the king. How would I use this quote? It shows you guys the kind of man a Jacobian society wanted to be their king. A weakling couldn't do it. It was not a job for the faint-hearted. To be the king, you had to almost be quite vicious, be quite cold-hearted, be powerful. And that's what Macbeth shows us. And that's why the witches chose Macbeth. That's why King Duncan was so happy when he learns about the kind of man Macbeth is. That's what they love. And what they love is what bites them in the backside. But the point you want to make here, guys, is that kings and kingship and power was reserved for men of might, for men of power, for men who were merciless, for men who were vicious. Because patriarchy and power and kingship all go together. To be the king, you must be a strong, powerful man. And that is how that last quote should be viewed. Guys, these 4 quotes, whether you use all of them, whether you use one of them or 2 of them, let's say in your exam, you get a question about kingship, the idea of the king, the idea of power. You can easily use 2 of these and make it fit. Kingship, guys, people are scared of it. I think kingship is a really easy question. If you look at kingship the way I've described it, don't be scared of it. Welcome it, because it's a lovely question. Because it is the pillar of the book, it is the pillar of the play Macbeth. Kingship is what everyone fights for. Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, the witches, Macduff, Malcolm, Donald Bain, they are all fighting for that. It doesn't mean they want to be the king. It means in one way or another, some of them are trying to destroy it, some of them are trying to keep it up. Like Macduff. Macduff doesn't want to be the king, but he wants to hold up the idea of the king. But the witches, on the other hand, want to topple it over and destroy it. All the characters, guys, in one way or another, have a link to the idea of kingship. Because it's the glue that holds the entire society together. Alright, guys? Use it, don't use it, tweak it, change it. I hope the video helped. It's been Mr. Everything English. Peace.